I gave Abraham 6 sons who became fathers of nations. Yet you may never have heard my name from any pulpit. My descendants sheltered Moses in the wilderness, advised him on leadership, and carried Joseph to Egypt, setting in motion the entire Exodus story. I was married to the most famous man of faith in human history, and yet I am the wife the Bible mentions in just 5 verses. How is that possible? How can someone so crucial to God's promise be so completely forgotten? My name is Keturah, and today I am going to tell you the story they never taught you in Sunday school. The story of how God used a nobody like me to prove that his promises are always bigger than we imagine. This is my story, the forgotten wife who completed the promise that Abraham would be the father of many nations. They remember Sarah, of course they do. The beautiful wife, the mother of promise, the woman who laughed at God's message and then bore Isaac in her old age. They remember Hagar too, the Egyptian servant whose son Ishmael became the father of a great nation. But me, I am the forgotten wife, the footnote, the afterthought in Abraham's story. Yet without me, God's promise to Abraham would remain incomplete. Without my 6 sons, the phrase "father of many nations" would ring hollow. So let me take you back to a desert afternoon when everything changed, not just for me, but for nations yet unborn. I still remember the day I first saw him, Abraham. The man whose name meant father of many, though at that moment he walked with the weight of fresh grief upon his shoulders. Sarah had died 3 years earlier, and though Abraham had lived 137 years, he seemed diminished somehow, not in body, for God had renewed his strength, but in spirit. I was from the eastern tribes. Some say I descended from Ham, others claim different origins. The truth is, I was nobody special, just a woman living her life in the shadow of the great patriarch's tents. I had heard the stories, of course. Who had not? The man who left everything to follow a God he could not see, the father who nearly sacrificed his own son on an altar, the husband who waited decades for the child of promise. But when Abraham asked for my hand in marriage, I was stunned. Me? I thought his story was over. Isaac was grown, married to Rebekah. The promise had been fulfilled. What more could God want from this man who had already given everything? I did not understand then what I understand now. God's promises always exceed our imagination. Always. Genesis 25:1 records it simply. Abraham had to take another wife, whose name was Keturah. 1 verse, 9 words in English. That is all the introduction I received in one of the greatest stories ever told. But oh, what those words set in motion. When I married Abraham, he was well over 130 years old. By human standards, our marriage made no sense. The whispers started immediately. Why does he need another wife? Is not Isaac enough? What is this old man thinking? But Abraham knew something they did not. God had promised to make him the father of many nations, not one nation, not 2, but many, and that promise was not yet fulfilled. My name, Keturah, means incense or perfume in Hebrew. I did not choose it, but looking back, I see God's hand in it. Like incense rising to heaven, my life would become an offering, a fragrant contribution to God's eternal purposes. I would bring a new dimension to Abraham's legacy, one that most people would never notice, but one that God had planned from the beginning. I will not lie to you. It was intimidating to step into Sarah's shadow. How do you follow a woman who laughed with God? A woman whose faith was counted in the Hall of Heroes in Hebrews 11. I was marrying a legend, a man who had walked with God for over a century, but Abraham was kind to me, patient. He treated me not as a replacement for Sarah, but as a new chapter in God's story. And what a chapter it would be. Then came the children, one after another. God blessed our union with sons. 6 sons. Can you imagine? Abraham, at an age when most men are long buried, fathering 6 healthy boys. Zimran was first. I remember holding him in my arms, marveling at this miracle. Then came Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua, 6 sons, each destined to become the father of a nation. Genesis 25:2 carefully records their names, preserving their legacy, even when their mother's story was minimized. Each child was a confirmation that God's promise to Abraham was real and expanding in ways nobody anticipated. Through Sarah came Isaac, the child of promise. Through Hagar came Ishmael, father of 12 princes, and through me came 6 more lineages, each with their own destiny. But here is what breaks my heart. Most people do not know their names. They do not know that Midian, my 4th son, would father the Midianites, the very people who would shelter Moses during his 40 years in the wilderness. They do not know that Jethro, Moses' wise father-in-law, who gave him counsel on leadership, was my descendant. My blood ran through the veins of the man who helped shape Israel's greatest prophet. My sons spread throughout the eastern regions, forming tribes, establishing trade routes, building nations. Zimran's descendants settled in southern Arabia. Jokshan's line extended into the Dedan region, and Midian, my precious Midian, his children became a powerful nation, controlling vital trade routes between Africa and Asia. It was Midianite traders who bought Joseph from his brothers, had carried him to Egypt, unknowingly setting in motion the Exodus story. It was a Midianite priest who welcomed Moses as a fugitive and who gave him a wife. My descendants were woven throughout Israel's story, hidden in plain sight, fulfilling purposes I could never have imagined. If you are enjoying the story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It will not cost you anything, but it will mean the world to us. We are just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video. But then came the day that tested my heart in ways I had not prepared for. Abraham called me to his tent one morning. His face was serious, purposeful. "Keturah," he said, "God has shown me what must be done. Isaac is the son of promise. The covenant will continue through him. But our sons, they too have destinies. They must go east." Genesis 25:6 tells you what happened next. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. Abraham called me to his tent one morning. His face was serious, purposeful. "Keturah," he said, "God has shown me what must be done. Isaac is the son of promise. The covenant will continue through him. But our sons, they too have destinies. They must go east." Genesis 25:6 tells you what happened next. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. Concubines. That is how Scripture refers to me in some passages, though Genesis 25:1 calls me his wife. Perhaps both are true in different senses. What matters is that Abraham, in his wisdom, understood something crucial. Each lineage needed its own space to grow. Our sons needed to establish their own identities, separate from Isaac's inheritance. So Abraham gave them gifts, wealth, livestock, knowledge, and sent them eastward. It was not rejection. It was release. It was a father blessing his sons of the freedom to build their own legacies. Did it hurt to watch them go? Yes, every mother understands that pain. But I also understood the necessity. Isaac would inherit Canaan and carry the messianic line. My sons would inherit the east. and become great nations in their own right. Different destinies, equal love. I lived my years with Abraham in relative quiet after that. While the world focused on Isaac and the promised line, I was simply Abraham's wife, living out my days in faithful obscurity. When Abraham died, at 175 years old, Isaac and Ishmael came together to bury him in the cave of Machpelah, beside Sarah. And 25:9 records this moment of unity. But where was I? Scripture does not say. Perhaps I was there, standing in the shadows as always, watching two sons lay their father to rest. My own death is not recorded. My burial place is unknown. After Genesis 25, I disappear from the biblical narrative, almost completely. 1 Chronicles 1:32 mentions me briefly when tracing genealogies, referring to me as Abraham's concubine, listing my sons once more, and that is it. That is my entire biblical legacy, a handful of verses easily overlooked. But here is what I want you to understand. God does not measure legacy the way humans do. The world measures legacy in monuments, in chapters of books, in how many times your name is repeated. God measures legacy in faithfulness, in the seeds planted, in the eternal reverberations of a life surrendered to his purposes. I never had a book of the Bible named after me like Ruth. I am not listed among the heroes of faith in Hebrews 11. Like Sarah and Rahab, no prophet spoke my name in their visions, and yet my 6 sons became fathers of nations, just as God promised Abraham. Through me, the promise that Abraham would be the father of many nations found additional fulfillment. Now, from the perspective of eternity, I can see what I could not see then. My story was never about me becoming famous. It was about God being faithful. When God promised Abraham in Genesis 17:4-5, "As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations." He meant it literally, many nations, not just Israel, through Isaac, not just the Ishmaelites, through Hagar, but also the Midianites, the Dadanites, the tribes of Zimran, Jokshan, Ishbak, and Shua, all part of God's promise, all part of his plan. I was the final piece in that promise's fulfillment during Abraham's lifetime, the forgotten piece, yes, but essential nonetheless. And here is what I wish I could tell every person who feels forgotten, overlooked, or insignificant in God's story. Your visibility to humans has nothing to do with your value to God. I am Keturah, and I have watched from eternity as generation after generation reads past my name without a second thought. But today, I want you to pause. I want you to see what my life teaches. First, God's promises are bigger than our initial understanding. When God promised Abraham he would be the father of many nations, people focused on Isaac. But God had Ishmael in mind too, and thy sons. The promise was far more expansive than anyone realized. The same is true for God's promises to you. He is always doing more than you can see, preparing fulfillments that will surprise you. Second, every life in God's story has purpose. There are no extras in God's kingdom, no bit players, no insignificant characters. From my seemingly minor role came nations that are mentioned throughout Scripture. The Midianites appear in the stories of Joseph, Moses, Gideon, and the prophets. My small contribution rippled through all of biblical history. Your faithfulness today is creating ripples you cannot yet perceive. Third, God is never finished with your story. Abraham married me when he was well over 130 years old. If you think certain chapters of your life are closed, If you believe your useful days are behind you, remember me, remember my husband. God opened a completely new chapter in Abraham's life, and everyone thought the story was over. He can do the same for you. Age, circumstances, past failures, none of these limit God's ability to write new chapters. Fourth, your contribution matters, even if nobody notices. I gave Abraham 6 sons, who became fathers of nations. My descendants influenced the story of Moses, the trade routes of the ancient world, and the political landscape of the Middle East. Yet I am barely mentioned, but my lack of fame did not diminish my impact. You may never be famous, but you can still be faithful, and faithfulness always bears fruit, even if you never see the harvest. If you feel like a Keturah, forgotten, overlooked, minimized, hear me clearly. You are seen by God. The world might not write your biography. History might not record your name. You might never preach to thousands or write best-selling books. Your contribution might be summarized in a single verse or not mentioned at all. But if you are faithful to what God has called you to do, if you steward well the relationships He has given you, if you raise your children to know Him, if you serve in obscurity with joy, you are fulfilling eternal purposes that matter more than any earthly recognition. I was married to the most famous man of faith in human history, and yet I am the wife nobody remembers. But my 6 sons became nations. My descendants sheltered Moses and advised him. My lineage spread throughout Arabia and influenced the ancient world. I was forgotten by humans, but remembered by God, and that, I have learned, is all that matters. Today, as you hear my story for perhaps the first time, I want you to know the God who used me is the same God who wants to use you. He is still fulfilling promises in unexpected ways. He's still using ordinary people for extraordinary purposes. He's still writing stories that the world overlooks, but heaven celebrates. You do not need to be Sarah to matter. You do not need to be in a spotlight to have impact. You just need to be faithful with what God has placed in your hands, whether that is children, a marriage, a ministry, a career, or simply a life of quiet devotion. My name means incense, and like incense that rises invisibly to heaven, your faithfulness rises to God's throne as a sweet fragrance, even when nobody on earth notices. So the next time you read Genesis 25 and come across my name, if you even notice it, remember, I am Keturah, the forgotten wife, who helped fulfill the promise that Abraham would be the father of many nations. My story is brief, but my impact is eternal, and yours can be too. I have told you my story, not so you will remember my name, but so you will remember this truth. In God's economy, there are no small obediences. There are no insignificant acts of faith. There are no forgotten servants. You are seen, you are known, you are valued. And your faithfulness, even in obscurity, is weaving threads into God's eternal tapestry that will be revealed in fullness only when you see Him face to face. Live faithfully, love deeply, trust completely, and know that your life, like mine, is part of a story far greater than you can imagine. I was Abraham's forgotten wife, but I was never forgotten by God, and neither are you. Thank you for listening to my story. May the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob bless you and keep you all the days of your life. Want more untold Bible stories? Subscribe to Bible Behind the Scenes. Drop a comment. Which forgotten biblical character should we explore next?